Some people think of Mahler's Fifth Symphony as the first great 20th century symphony. Written and premiered originally in 1904 in Cologne, it represents everything that I think this period in Mahler's life is. Looking back to the 19th century and this expansive chromatic harmony, but also preparing for what was going to happen in the 20th century. The fourth movement, the Adagietto of the symphony, is scored for just strings and harp, and many have commented that this movement represents a kind of a love song to his new wife, Alma. He chooses the key of F major, which is very far away from the C sharp minor that actually begins the whole symphony, and so we're in a kind of another world at this point in the symphony. F major has always been considered a very pastoral key. You think of Beethoven's Sixth Symphony, for example, and I think that in this respect it's an autobiographical key for Mahler. It represents himself in the nature, something he spent every summer doing in the Austrian Alps. And so I think there has to be a sense of autobiography in the choice of F major as a key. We begin with this very, very beautifully soft motif in the harp, accompanied by the violas, which just sets things up like a small introduction to a song. And then here is where you get this taste of the 20th century. So he chooses a major seventh harmony where you have this resolution in the first violins, but actually everything about that chord, it could be Debussy, it could be Ravel, but it's certainly not the world of the 19th century that came before. What's beautiful about the way that he writes this theme is, in a way, the simplicity underneath. And you hear, beneath this very simple F major melody in the first violins, you hear this amazing sense of manipulation of the voices in a way that I think, like all the great composers, the simplicity creates the genius. So let's have a listen. And he writes Seelenvoll, full of soul, in the first violins. And even that, we know that it's kind of that, but it's not. It's just something in adding the D in the violas just slightly changes the colour, and again we're right in the 20th century. Something like that, where you have the first violins and the violas. It's just this brilliant premonition of the types of harmony that composers like Schoenberg, Weber and Berg would start to influence. Now later on in the movement, towards the middle, there's this beautiful moment where I think, and many agree, that he's almost calling to Alma through the motif he uses. And so we hear this incredible motif. And I just think when you have this succession of two notes, the only way I can imagine is this calling, Alma, Alma. What's beautiful at this moment in the symphony is things get a lot more dramatic. We start to move away from F major. And so here we go. So we find ourselves in G flat major, which is incredibly far from F major in terms of just a step up. And so there is this general feeling of transcendence. You've suddenly reached this new kind of epiphany of G flat major. Importantly, I think, with this motif comes, and I think the only way way that we can interpret this from a biographical point of view is what Mahler is saying is through this new marriage that at this point is very fresh and very new, he, as an F major person, is able to be lifted into the world of G flat major in a way that I think is perfectly summarized in this particular movement. And in that sense, it's the perfect, most romantic love letter in the world.